Okay, this bottom left, the two triangles are on top of each other, so I can't really see what's going on, but I know that there's one big boy triangle. Yeah. And this big old triangle, his whole side is 6 plus that 2. Okay, so that's the big triangle. Now let's look at the smaller triangle. That smaller triangle just has a 6 on it. Okay, well, we want to know the scale factor. Well, again, it depends on where you go. If we're going from big to little, then we say 8 times what? Gives you 6. And then if we're going from little to big, we go backwards. So let's say we're going from big to little, as in your homework would say triangle ACD, because that's the big guy, and then your triangle would say like a little squiggle thing for similar. Then your homework would say the little triangle ABE. Okay, so let's say we're going from the big, the one that has 6 plus 2, all the way to the little, the one that just has 6. Okay, so the question is, how do we go from 8 to 6? Well, it's kind of like we make up an equation. We say 8 times x, or question mark, equals 6. Then to get rid of that 8, we divide, and we get x equals 3 over 4. So, if you're going from the big guy to the little guy, your scale factor is 3 over 4. Let's look at what happens when you go from the little to the big. Okay, on your homework, the little would be labeled triangle ABE. And we would take it to the big guy, ACD. Okay, well, let's see here. What's the little side? 6. What's the big side? 8. Okay, how do we get there? Well, we make up a little equation. 6 times who gives us 8? And then you divide by 6. Divide by 6. And you get x equals 8 over 6, or you can reduce it to 4 over 3. So it depends on what your homework says. You have to look at the letters after the triangles they give you. If we're going from the big to the little triangle, then the scale factor is 3 over 4. If we're going from the little to the big triangle, it's backwards, 4 over 3. Okay. Let's look at this next picture. Okay, it does not have any congruent angles labeled, but we have learned something. We learned, they're called like corresponding angles or something, where if you have two lines crossing, and they make two triangles. These two inner angles are the same. They're equal. So that tells us something. On this triangle, this inner angle of B and B, they're the same. Okay, so it's like this triangle with the A and the E. If I flopped it around, it would look like so if I took this little triangle and just kind of flopped it around, so that its corresponding angles look like they match. Okay, now we can find the scale factor. So we have to figure out what we're going to. If we're going from big to little, we say, okay, how do we get from 4.5 to 4? Okay, then if we're going from big to little, we say, how do you get from 6 to 3? What? Let's check it. I ran out of room.